I'm here to talk to you about something I'm sure, looking around the room, a lot of people will be very familiar with. Children, but also children who are going to become our customer. So I'm going to talk about the telco customer. I want to talk about what they need now, what they're going to need in the future. And I'm going to talk about some strategies and some takeaways. I want to give you something in these 20 minutes. So basically, children of today are absolutely so tech advanced. They've lived with tech their whole life. And I'll start with a little story about my own son. I travel a lot, and he likes to use his device to keep in touch with me. Nothing new there. Here's our monstrous dog when she was a little smaller, and he takes pictures of her on his device. And he likes to talk to me when I'm away, and Skype and FaceTime and various different things. It's all good. And he also has, he likes to search for things and buy things, and Dad, can I have, and all this type of thing, right? So, that shouldn't really be a surprise. It sounds like any typical kid, any teenager, right? This is my boy. This is Elijah. He's just turned 3 in November. And so, I want to talk a little bit about him first of all, just to give you an understanding of where I'm going with this. He somehow uses his device to find things that he wants. He can't type yet, but somehow he manages to find this on YouTube constantly. Every morning he comes into the kitchen and tries to instruct Google to play Paw Patrol on the kitchen TV. It doesn't quite work, but when Google releases the patch for 3-year-old boys from the northeast of England, I'm pretty sure Google might understand him. Now, the other thing that he does, and this is where it gets into the area of commerce, is he's obsessed with vacuum cleaners. Don't judge me, he just is, right? And this particular brand, G-Tech, and he is always trying to find this particular vacuum cleaner for his grandmother. We have one of these in our house, handy little tool. His grandmother doesn't. And so much so is we actually had to turn off one-click ordering on Amazon because we would have had piles of these arriving at our door. And this is interesting in that at his tender age, he's got this idea of commerce. He doesn't understand what money is. He thinks everything costs $2, if only. But he has an understanding that he uses his smartphone, he goes to the internet to buy things that he might like. And this is about his generation, Generation Alpha.
If you pee in the pool, will the water really change colour? Does the TV only work when it's raining? Can a stork really carry a baby?
Does the internet turn off at 7 every night?
Can a goldfish run away? Is Santa always watching?
It's a common misconception that
we're gonna rule the world, don't you know, don't you know? We are gonna rule the world, don't you know, don't you know? We're gonna put it together. We're gonna put it together.
We need to talk.
We're gonna rule the world, don't you know, don't you know?
Just thought that was great and kind of summed up, where I'm going with his introduction. My question to everybody is, does this scare you? And actually, I think it should. The demands of our current customers are huge. Our future customers are going to take this to the absolute next level. And so what I want to demonstrate over the course of my next few slides is give you some ideas as to how you can start to think about that change and what it is that you need to do. And to do that, we're going to talk about the 2 newest generations. I'm over millennials, right? I'm over millennials, right? Gen Z are here and Gen Alpha are coming. So I'll talk to you a little bit about these generations, but within the construct of our industry, I'm going to talk about marketing, technology, and of course, customer experience, and what those two generations are going to demand. What I want to give you is to avoid you going the way of brands like these. The telcos are petrified of being the dumb pipe. But I'm sorry to say, some of you in this room kind of already are. And it needn't be that way. You know, the connection with our customer needs to be a lot more than just making the products and services easily available and easy to interact with and so on and so forth. You know, the emotional connection is something that is lacking in a lot of telcos around the world. So, let me explain. Generation Z, first of all, who are they? Well, there are a lot of these people on the planet. They are typically now up to about 23, 25 years old max. They make up about 25% of the worldwide population right now. So think about the disposable income that this generation already has. And they're different to millennials, different to baby boomers, so we need to think about that. And their device penetration is huge. Of course, they've grown up with tech. They've grown up with mobile phones. You know, they're used to it. This generation, I think somebody mentioned it before, they're online constantly. Offline does not exist anymore. I love this little tweet that I've stolen. You know, offline is not there. So moving on swiftly to Generation Alpha. Who are these? So this is my son Elijah. Typically very young, up to about 8 years old. By 2025, there will also be about 2 billion of these youngsters on the planet. And a lot of countries are literally exploding with their birth rate. And what is interesting about this generation is that they're digital heirs. They're the children of digital natives. And that's a real differentiator. It is a real game changer. Most of them have used the device when they're very, very, very young. So, you know, Generation Alpha, they're incredible. And so what will that mean for the telco? So let's start off about marketing. One of the first things is about the relationship with the brand. And so what determines how you feel about a brand? And historically, typically, it would be the sum of all of your experiences with that brand. Maybe you see an advert, or you go into a store, or you interact with them. But Generation Z, how do they build up a representation of a brand? I'll tell you. Kylie Jenner tells them. Generation Z are very, very influence-driven. And like it or not, this strategy, which a lot of big brands are using, can actually be better, more efficient than traditional marketing. The young kids of today, they trust these people. They trust their advice. They want to be like them. It's unbiased. It's seen as unbiased and trustworthy. The alphas, they're going to take that a stage further. For them, a brand is going to be the jumping off point for their creativity. And this is starting now. And you'll see brands like Converse, you can absolutely customize. And we had the Nike example or Adidas example earlier. You can really customize your product with them. And that is what the alphas are going to demand. Now, that's my point, is that commerce, whether you believe retail to be brick and mortar, because I don't. I think retail is the art of procuring something, wherever you get that from, okay? Retail is now about personalization. It's me-tail. Now, how many telcos get that? I'm sorry to say, and it pains me, because I've been in telco retail a long time, and I've been in retail even longer. I have experience of a lot of traditional retail channels and department stores and so on and so forth way back in my career. Telcos are pretty awful at retail. Pains me to say it. Also helps because I'm able to help telcos get better at that, right? I understand it a little bit. Moving on to advertising. Again, pretty similar to the brand. In the past, you'd see an advert, it would be a paper, it would be a TV ad. Everything was static, it was cookie cutter, it was absolutely the same. Now our ads have to find our customers. And Gen Z's like that. You have to be where they are. And Gen Z are here. Right? So you've got to go to them. How often do we do that? Here's an example of how the alphas are going to take this a stage further. This could be my boy when he's 18. He's taking his first trip. He's going to New York. He's sat in the departure lounge, and through our technology and through the AI and through the device, it knows he's going to New York, so it prompts him, hey, do you want to add this roaming package? I noticed through your email there was, you're going to New York, da, 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 da. So we're actually finding the customer, we're actually predicting their needs, we're moving to them before they have to come to us and say, hey, I've got a challenge, I need to do this. With the alphas, it's about predictive advertising, getting to them without speaking to them. And again, there's very few telcos that do this right now. Now, last piece on marketing is around social. Social hasn't always been a consideration in the past when people have been making purchases. Okay? We just saw what we want, we'd go get that, we'd consume it, we'd deal with it, done. Not nowadays. Millennials and Gen Z are very interested in being philanthropic and, things that help the planet. The green movement is fairly clear. Alphas are going to take that a stage further in that they're going to seek out what we call blue companies and blue experiences, where they're giving back to the community. And here is actually an example from our industry where there's a group of Australian telcos have united to have a foundation to give back to their community. So the other pieces that telcos can do that don't need to be big are things that will change the planet, but they'll be recognized as things that help. It is 2019. The amount of telcos I go to that still give you reams and reams of paper to sign and stamp and store and transport, it's unbelievable. The technology is there today. Why are telcos in their sales channels and in their brick and mortar so slow to adapt this? And here's a great example from Rogers in Canada, who have a really cool paperless solution. So just a quick recap on this. I'm not going to read through the bullets because I want to get through to this nifty question tool. It was really good. Things on the left-hand side, things you should be doing now. If you're not, I'm sorry to say you're behind. Things on the right-hand side, these are the things that the alphas are going to demand. Start thinking about these things right now. Personalization, for instance, is absolutely huge in telco. We have the ability to do it. We don't. I'll come on to that in a second. So now let's switch gears very quickly and talk about technology. And within technology, connectivity. Before IoT, which is barely even here, things were disconnected. Okay? I can remember a time, and I can't believe this happened, where I actually had to get off my sofa and go and switch off the light. Right? Now I just shout at Google and the light goes off. You know what I mean? So, connectivity is something that the younger generations take for granted and they want, and our products and services empower. Yet there are very few telcos that have done what this example does. If anybody is here from Vodafone, you're welcome. I just think this is a great consumer example, their V by Vodafone range, of how to absolutely connect with what the customer wants and needs and expects, and actually what our products and services can do and can power. There's very few moving in this direction. But the alphas, again, are going to take this a stage further. And this is my dream, that one day I will set my alarm for very early, and my kettle will know, and it will boil, and my fridge knows that there's milk inside, and if it didn't 2 days earlier, it would have ordered, and I go downstairs and I just make my cup of tea and it's there. That's my dream. That's what the alphas are going to be expecting. And so what can the telcos do with that? Telcos have a great opportunity to be selling smart products and really dramatizing these opportunities and helping to educate people. If we don't seize these opportunities, then the inevitable outcome is dumb pipe. Mark my words. Now, devices. In the past was very easy. You had certain brands to choose from, certain sizes, certain colors, take your pick, bang. Now, there is a lot of choice. But not only that, I'll go back to this personalization piece. In the future, will it be iPhone X or XX, or will it be iPhone Elijah, where he can absolutely customize what he needs, and through smart supply chains, we're absolutely able to fulfill that device as quickly as we can fulfill a box today. Alphas are all about personalization. They want everything to be personal to them. They want to stand out. They want to be unique. Think back to your own businesses and how you are marketing your products and services right now. Are they unique? Are they personal? Can you move your tariff freely? Can you get cool and different things from you? If not, we may have a challenge. And lastly, in this part is around subscriptions. Now, we should be the master of this, because at one point, the only subscription you pretty much had, apart from your gas and your electric, maybe, your utilities, would be your phone plan. But now they're everywhere. Dollar Shave Club, Netflix. This is a great example from Singapore where, they're moving and giving the customers what they want, which is actually a phone leasing. It's taking that zero down and going a stage further. Pay in your tariff to have this device. When you want to swap out that device, swap out that device. And here's a more extreme example in a different industry. But this will happen, and the Generation Alpha, my boy, will expect it. I don't think he'll ever own a car. He'll absolutely lease one. And in the week, he might want something eco-friendly, doesn't need to be too fast. He's in a traffic jam in the urbanized city that we're all moving towards. But in the weekend, he may swap that out and get the connected van. This is what they're going to demand. So do our systems, will our products enable us to help facilitate this type of world? And it's around access over ownership. A lot of you, I'm sure, are doing this. Hands up who still has physical CDs in your house? There's a few, but it's less than 50%, eh? Right? I kicked that bullet. I got rid of them. And, now everything is accessed through my subscription. I can't wait for the day that the Spotify of movies happens. And I can just find that classic. And, I don't need to have a big wall of DVDs in my house because I still have DVDs. Guilty. Here's the technology recap. Again, things on the left-hand side. Do them now, quickly. Things on the right-hand side, start to think about that Internet of Everything and the selling of customized products and personalized phone cases and printable things and so on and so forth. Last one is of course, CX. Let me break this down. Purchasing experience, first of all. Until recently, the idea of purchasing an experience was a very foreign concept. Customers would go to a store to buy something, and then they'd leave. But now that's changing. Experience is absolutely everything. And what we must do is enable that experience and enable that education. New products and new services are coming on board all of the time. Customers and consumers don't know what to do with them. Adoption is slow. Take-up is slow. Why? We don't educate the end consumer. So Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they're going to love retail. The statistics show Gen Z love retail. Ingrid was absolutely spot on before. I was delighted. Brick and mortar is making a renaissance. It is, only it's different. Your Gen Z customer wants an experience. And how many telco retail stores do they get that experience from? Gen Alpha, again, they're going to stretch this and take this a stage further. They want everything to be personal to them, remember. So they don't want to be sold to. They don't want salespeople. But for sure, the idea of a personal shopping coach will absolutely be something that is needed. You know, let me talk about your house and your fixed line needs and how you've got a 4-foot thick wall leading to your kitchen, which means it's really hard to get your connectivity in there. Let me sort all that out for you so that you can use the products in the way in which they're intended. Rather like the example before about the Netflix cutting out when you move out of Cardiff Station. Right? This is what alphas are going to want and are going to want to need. Both of the younger generations want entertainment. And I'm sorry, but a lot of telco retail stores I see around the world are anything but entertainment. Now, I don't want to paint too much of a doom and gloom picture. There are some absolutely fantastic examples out there, and I'd be more than happy to share that with you a little bit later. Come see me. Lastly, this word education. This topic is here again because I spoke before around the need to bridge that gap between what the devices can do and our products and services and how well educated the consumer is on those devices. And Gen Zs have not lived without technology before, so they're quite competent. They're happy to learn, but there's still going to be new things that they don't. But my point about education is actually flipping this. It's not about Gen Z and Gen Alpha. It's actually about the older generation who have a lot of disposable income, who absolutely need some help and support. And again, how often does the telco do that? You know, imagine if the concept of a device changes to something radical. You know, wearables, hearables, implants, who knows? I'm going really 30 years into the future here, but you know, new generations, old generations, they're going to need help. And you can't necessarily get that quality of help from a self-service channel or from an online forum or chat room. You know, we're pack animals. We love that interaction. And education has been around for a long time. There's a lot of telcos have been doing this for more than 10 years. But not everywhere, not consistently, and not well. And it tends to be the kind of the consumer electronic brands like the Apple that, to be fair to telcos, doesn't have the service traffic problems to deal with that we telcos do. They tend to be able to do it well. But I actually think a service visit is your gateway to keeping that customer for life and or selling them something else. And how many telcos take advantage of that today? So here's the education recap. Make things entertaining, expand your education, give some experience, and then you can start to think about that education journey across all channels. So that's a big list that I've spoken to you about, so I've summarized it all here. So there's a big list there of things on the left-hand side that are, for me, should be table stakes. You should be doing right now, all of you. And there's some things on the right-hand side that I think you should start to think about. You know, what is this all about? The goal is to create a bond with your customer through incredible experiences. And I just don't think we have that bond in a lot of cases. And if you don't, well, I'm sorry, you're the utility company selling me electricity. You're selling me something that is invisible airwaves, and I don't care what it is or who I get it from. I just want it. And the day a customer, which is not too far away, can walk into a consumer electronics store and buy a new device and switch it on there and then and scroll through 2 or 3 or 4 carriers in their market through the eSIM menu and connect right there, If that customer doesn't see your name and have good thoughts and good experiences about you, then what's to say they're not going to choose one of the 3 other options on that eSIM list? So it's dangerous. And so just to sum up, and I want to get onto the questions, change is constant, and I love this quote, but we tend to be in this world of running our business, quarterly reviews, annual bonus, hit the bottom line. And how many of us really think 2, 3, 4 years into the future? How many of us think 1 and 2 generations into the future and put that in your planning right now, which is what I've been talking to you about? And I love change. And the reason why I'm reminded that change is awesome is this little guy. I came to this whole fatherhood thing quite late. But now every time I see him, I see the world differently through his eyes. And I see our industry actually differently through his eyes. And change can be scary. It can also be great. And I would just urge you all, in your strategies, in your planning, think about what customer experience means and how you do it. And so that's it. I hope this has been valuable. I hope it's been enjoyable. Please fire me some questions. And I'll see you all over the next few days.